Tappei has just released Arc 7 Chapter 45, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 44 summary. Anyways, let's begin. The chapter starts with Subaru commenting on this situation, stating that it's essentially like there's a tiger at the front gate and a wolf at the back door. It wasn't that there were animals attacking them, but that's how Subaru rationalized the situation. Al asked Tarita to confirm that there were 100 enemies, and Tarita said there was. As the group talked, Abel stated that it may just be a warning rather than outright hostility, since they were only being surrounded. Abel looks at Subaru and states that Subaru has more worries than just being surrounded, as he's shrunk in addition to the current situation. Subaru felt bad because Abel seemed to have detected what was bothering Subaru. Subaru was currently dragging his feet due to the current situation, and Abel pinpointed it. Medium asked if Subaru was okay. Being stubborn wouldn't help, so Subaru states what's on his mind, the fact that he's struggling to remember things he should know. Abel questions him and Subaru elaborates. Deep down he can remember people like Beatrice, Rem and Emilia, but something is off. Abel wants to know if Subaru forgot, or is it simply Subaru taking too long to remember them. Subaru clarifies that he's struggling to pull up his memories rather than outright forgetting things. Subaru was struggling to answer Abel's questioning, and Al jumped in stating that there's no real difference. However, Abel disagrees. We see that the situation outside hasn't changed. Abel states that this is due to them not meeting their requirements. Tarita is confused. Abel ponders on the situation and stares at Subaru, asking Subaru what the conditions are for them to attack. Subaru denies knowing, but Abel gets closer and grabs Subaru's shoulder. Subaru states he doesn't know, but also states that if they were to leave the inn, they would attack. And that's all that Subaru knows. Subaru revealed information he gained from Return by Death. He feared retaliation from the witch's taboo, but nothing happened. However, Lewis got agitated at Abel, who was grabbing Subaru's shoulder, and Abel let go of Subaru. Medium then jumped in and told Abel to stop bullying Subaru. Abel shrugs it off, realizing that leaving the inn is the trigger. Medium again comforted Subaru, and Subaru felt like Abel's pressure forced him into answering. Al rationalized it verbally as if it was between an adult and children, and he's not talking about physical looks. Subaru thinks about it. Al is correct. The interaction right now between Subaru and Abel was similar to one seen between an adult and a kid. With that said, Abel interrupts them, stating that since Olbart isn't the one harming them, the people hunting them is Chaos Flame. The group is confused, but Abel clarifies that it's the city of Chaos Flame itself hunting them down. Everyone was shocked, but there was disbelief. When asked what made Abel sure that it was Chaos Flame, Abel states that there are few people who can mobilize hundreds of troops. The two main people would be the Emperor and the inhabitants of the city. It cannot be the Emperor himself, of course, since Chisha is impersonating Abel. And Abel himself wouldn't be able to assemble a squadron in Chaos Flame, which means that Chisha wouldn't be able to do it either. Not only that, we see that since Chisha is impersonating Abel, he will perfectly mimic Abel's thoughts and mannerisms, and therefore wouldn't act in ways not expected of him. Furthermore, one of Abel's generals, Kahuma, who Subaru, Medium and Al met the day before, is inflexible and would call out the fake Emperor if he pulled a stunt like this. In other words, the culprit isn't Chisha. We also see that Kahuma is as strong as a 9 divine general. With that, the only other person could be Yorna herself. However, that doesn't add up, since Abel gave her a letter of intent, which Yorna was supposed to give a response to. What doesn't add up is that Abel offered what Yorna wanted, which was to be the wife of the Emperor. The group speculated that maybe Abel was rude in the letter, so now Yona wants to kill Abel. However, Abel states that he will do what he has to do and emotions are secondary, so he will marry Yona if he has to. What also doesn't add up is that Tanza stated that Yona recognized Subaru and the others. With that, the conversation died down and Tarita asked what to do. Subaru and the group knew that leaving the inn would cause them to die. However, they didn't know if the group outside would barge in. Furthermore, they were in the middle of a game of hide and seek. With that said, the decision was made by Abel to escape. Tarita would distract them outside and they would go out the back door. Al shows concern, but Abel shuts him down. Abel strategizes with Tarita and Medium whilst taking Tarita's belongings. Despite Medium being shrunk down, she has a good eye for a plan, so Abel leaves that to her. Tarita was leaving, and Subaru told her to not die. Subaru felt bad for saying something so obvious. He should have instead said something motivational. Either way, Tarita relaxed and said goodbye. As Tarita left, Abel said some final words, saying not to cut corners as people in this city are not easy to kill. The scene changes to Tarita as she steps outside. Tarita was able to scan the surroundings of the area immediately, skills she learned as a member of the Shadrakian tribe. Not only that, she was entrusted by Mizelda to carry on the chieftain title, meaning she had to excel in these abilities, which she did. Tarita dashes and realized out of the 100 or so people, only a few of them spotted her leaving, and even fewer people could react in time. Tarita thinks of Abel and her sister. They were headstrong people, and when around people like that, Tarita was normally forced into situations. Tarita wasn't a good match with Abel. However, she thought about Flop, who was left in the city of Guaral. Her thoughts were interrupted as she drew her bowstring, launching 3 arrows at 3 different targets, hitting them at their necks and eyes, incapacitating them. Tarita liked this since she didn't have to talk with her prey. She could just launch arrows. Life and death was all that mattered. Tarita approached the alley where she downed the 3 attackers earlier and another 3 people appeared, one being a strong ox-looking beastman. Tarita ran up to him and kicked him in the nose, then used his body as a footstool and jumped into the air, and she used her arrows to take out the strongest individuals. After all, she wouldn't have infinite arrows, therefore she needed to prioritize the strong targets. Tarita midair launched over 30 arrows, striking the enemies in their eyes, chest, neck, and mouth, following Abel's advice to not let her guard down. Tarita ran out of arrows, therefore she would collect the arrows as she moved around. Since Tarita was a hunter, she knew when she hit a vital spot, so she was sure she killed everyone she shot. Yet the people who stood up had not lost their lives, and they had the will to fight. Tarita asked the Oxman what this was, but he didn't reply. However, the Oxman's right eye was burning, an orange flame. Not only him, but everyone Tarita shot, or the people that Tarita hadn't shot with an arrow, also had a burning left eye or a burning right eye. Furthermore, their wounds were healing. Tarita understood why Abel told her to go all out. Either way, her role was to act as a decoy, not to annihilate the entire enemy. And with that, Tarita pulled out her dagger and charged again, and the scene changes. We see Subaru watching Tarita decimate everyone as they run away. Of course, Subaru underestimated Tarita after seeing her die to Obart, and potentially saw her on the same skill as Holly or Kuna. But after this display, it may be that Tarita is even stronger than Mizelda herself. Subaru was shocked at what was happening. The people who appeared as assassins were women, children, and men, and they all looked unique with flashy clothes. They were injured, and then they stood up and healed. Abel stated that they may have spread the soul marriage technique throughout the city, to which Subaru responded with Konkon. So quick editor's note. So from my understanding, based on what I've read in the Discord, soul marriage technique in Japanese is very similar to a onomatopoeia with a fox's bark, which apparently in Japan is kon. So I believe it's supposed to be a pun of soul marriage with a fox's bark, which is kon, which I just repeated myself for, but you get the idea. Either way, Subaru and now press Abel to explain. He states that it's when you share your soul with another person to increase their value. Abel continues, stating that everything in the city shares the power of Yona, hence why it's difficult to conquer the city of Chaos Flame, and the chapter ends. So yeah, of course, my thoughts on the chapter is the whole chapter title is a pun with Yona because she's a fox and soul marriage and kon. But if we actually get to the meat and bones, Subaru still has memory issues. And by the way, like, it's fairly obvious that Abel realizes that Subaru has some ability now because he was staring at Subaru. He's like, tell me what you know. And this is what I said back in the day. I made a video where I was like, Vincent versus Priscilla and why you shouldn't discount Vincent. And it's this idea that Vincent plays 4D chess and he's going to clock on that Subaru has an ability, but I believe what he's going to think is that Subaru is a stargazer, so that Subaru has like precognitions of the future rather than return by death. But that's my thoughts on the chapter. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.